Before we proceed, may I ask us all to please wear our masks properly. Wearing it properly means it covering your nose and your mouth. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate and the Chairman of the Committee on the Review, Dr. Ovie Iguzor, the Clerk of the Chairman of the Committee on the Review of the Constitution will be addressing us. At this time, I'd like to invite His Excellency to please address the press, ask their questions. The format will be that you stand, tell us your name, the medium you represent, and our questions to the topic of the day. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, sir.
Before I begin, taking into account the mood of the country following the demise of the Chief of Army Staff and 9 others, I'd like to begin by extending my condolences to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari, the Nigerian military, and the families of our brothers who just passed, and indeed to all Nigerians. May their soul rest in perfect peace. Having said that, I welcome you all to this interactive session as we enter a very important phase in our effort at the alteration of the 1999 Constitution in line with the legislative agenda of the 9th National Assembly. No doubt, we are all alive to the peculiarities of the Constitution. The first is that this is the most enduring Constitution in our country since independence of 1960, having lasted 22 years and still counting. And if you consider all the constitutions since the first one in 1914 under Lord Lugard, it's only second to the Clifford Constitution of 1922 to 1946. The second peculiarity is that there's perhaps no other constitution that has received as many and diverse criticism as the 1999 Constitution. These have come from civil society groups, socio-cultural groups, regional organizations, professional bodies, ethnic nationalities, other pressure groups, as well as individuals. These criticisms, like I said, are varied and widespread. They include issues of adequate representativeness of the people of Nigeria by the Constitution, issues of federalism, devolution of powers, socio-economic rights, liberty for persons, and gender equality, amongst others. We must commend the resilience of Nigerians that in spite of these protests and agitations, the Constitution has endured. Yet we must not rest on our oars. Governance is anything but democratic when we fail to be responsive to the responsibilities and aspirations of those who put us in office, as they are actually the ones in power, for sovereignty belongs to them. To this extent, the National Assembly took up the gauntlet with the President of the Senate, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Lawan, constituting a Constitutional Amendment Committee on the 12th of February, 2020. When the committee, humbly headed by me, began work, there were about 32 header 1999 constitutional alteration bills. These were considered and streamlined to a 13-point frame of reference, to which we requested memoranda from all, including members of the press. The issues include 1, gender equality for women, 2, the federal structure and power devolution, 3, local government and local government autonomy, 4, public revenue, fiscal federalism and revenue, 5, the Nigerian police and Nigerian security architecture, 6, comprehensive judicial reforms, electoral reforms to strengthen INEC to deliver transparently credible, free and fair elections, socio-economic and cultural rights as contained in Chapter 2 of the Constitution, 9, strengthening the independence of oversight institutions and agencies created by the Constitution, 10, residency and indigene provisions, 11, immunity of persons, 12, the National Assembly, and 13, state creation. By the time the window for receiving these memoranda closed, the committee had received over 250 memoranda. The memoranda have been analyzed, and the committee have held several consultations and meetings to deliberate on the process and submissions in preparation for the public hearings at both national and zonal levels. Following from the analysis of the memoranda submitted, the issues have increased to 16 as listed below. 1, gender equity / increased participation of women and vulnerable groups in governance. 2, the federal structure in governance and power devolution. 3, local government administration / local government autonomy. 4, public revenue, fiscal federalism, and revenue allocation. 5, constitutional provisions for the establishment of state police. 6, judicial reform, that's adjudication of election and pre-election matters, and other justice delivery concerns. 7, electoral reforms that will make INEC deliver transparent, credible, free, and fair elections, political parties, independent candidature, and election management. 8, socio-economic rights as contained in Chapter 2 of the Constitution. 9, residency and indigenship. 10, immunity, removal of immunity in prima facie criminal cases. 11, timeline for assent of bills and passage of appropriation bills. 12, states and local government creation. 13, strengthening the independence of institutions like the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Auditor General of the Federation, and Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. 14, the FCT administration. 15, the legislature and legislative bureaucracy. 16, constitutional rule for traditional rulers. To further create opportunity for citizens to make inputs into the amendment process on any of these issues listed above, or others who wish to present, introduce, or promote new issues that will promote good governance and unity of the country, the committee is embarking on public hearings at the 6 geopolitical zones at the national level and at the national level. To bring the process closer to the people, the hearings will take place in 2 centers in each of the 6 geopolitical zones as follows. North Central, Jos Center, is to be chaired by Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and this comprises of Plateau, Benue, and Nasarawa State, while the Mina Center is to be chaired by Senator Abdullahi Sabi Aliyu, and this comprises of Kogi, Kwara, Niger, and the FCT. To the northeast, the Gombe Center is to be chaired by Senator Muhammad Danjuma Goje, and this comprises of Gombe, Taraba, and Adamawa states, while the Bauchi Center is to be chaired by Senator Abubakar Kiari, and this comprises of Bauchi, Borno, and Yobe State. 3, the northwest, the Kaduna Center is to be chaired by Senator Kabiru Gaya, and this comprises of Kaduna, Kanu, Katsina, and Jigawa states, while the Sokoto Center is to be chaired by Senator Muhammadu Alero, and this comprises of Kebbi, Sokoto, and Zamfara states. 4, the southeast, the Enugu Center is to be chaired by Senator Ike Ekweremadu, and this comprises of Anambra, Ebonyi, and Enugu states, while the Owerri Center is to be chaired by Senator Oji Uzo-Kalu, and this comprises of Abia and Imo State. For the South-South Zone, Asaba Center is to be chaired by Senator James Ebiyewu, manager, and comprises of Bayelsa, Delta, and Edo states, while the Port Harcourt Center is to be chaired by Senator Betty Apiafi, and this comprises of Akwa Ibom, Cross River, and River states. The Southwest Akure Center is to be chaired by Senator Ajayi Boroface, and this comprises of Ekiti, Ondo, and Osun State, while the Lagos Center is to be chaired by Senator Oluremi Tinubu, and this comprises of Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo States. The zonal hearings will hold simultaneously in all the centers on Wednesday, the 26th, and Thursday, the 27th of May, 2021. The 2 days is to give Nigerians ample opportunity to make their presentations. After zonal hearings, there will also be a national public hearing in Abuja on Thursday, the 3rd, and Friday, the 4th of June, 2021, to give opportunity to those, especially the heads of court, government agencies, ministers, and other stakeholders who could not attend the zonal hearings. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigerians have clamored for amendment of the 1999 Constitution to address fundamental governance challenges. Others have called on the National Assembly to initiate bills that will devolve more powers to the states and address the security challenges in the country. This constitutional amendment process is an attempt by the National Assembly to respond to these demands within the context of the powers conferred on us by the Constitution in a manner that will further strengthen our democracy. We're using this opportunity to call on all Nigerians to effectively engage the process and present their demands or recommendations for consideration by the National Assembly. Democracy is a process of consultation and constructive engagement. So let us all leverage on this platform to build the country of our dream. I thank you for coming, and I'm available to take questions that are germane to this very issue. Thank you very much. Let me start with Samson Usman of the Daily Post. You alluded to positions allegedly already taken by Senator Abdoulaye Adamu. You're wondering, in light of that, if you will still be in a position to be fair in presiding over those proceedings. Let me make this very, very clear. What we are seeking to do is collate views of members of the public as to their positions with respect to submissions already made. They are there to either speak to positions already submitted or to canvass new positions. Now, the chairman, Abdoulaye Adamu, that you referred to, is standing in for me, at that center. His job, like every other chairman, is to collate these views, prepare a report, bring all of that before us as a committee. We take a look at it, consult with, meet with our consultants, and based on those reports, we'll reduce those collations into bills that we take before the Senate. As the SP, the Senate President indicated at plenary the last time before we went on recess, the National Assembly, we've taken no position. We are seeking to make a people's alteration to the Constitution. It is not our views. Yes, we represent them. At the end of the day, we have our votes to cast at plenary when we're ready. The hope and expectation is that whatever vote we cast will be a vote that will represent the hopes and the aspirations of the people that we represent. And let me also add, each and every one of us will have just one vote to cast. I may be the chairman of this standing committee, but at the end of the day, I have only one vote to cast as a senator representing Delta Central Senatorial District. So the Senate President is very, very clear about this. We have taken no position except with respect to bills that were proposed by us as individuals. As a senator, I have a couple of bills, that are also before this committee. So it will be very, very hypocritical of me to say that I have no position with respect to that bill. I sure have a position with respect to that bill. But whether that position will find favor with two-thirds majority of members of the Senate and thereafter the House and then the House of Assembly is another matter. So I can assure you he will be fair. I think that is the thrust of the question. Now, my friend and brother, Henry Umoru, when should Nigerians expect the new amended constitution? That's your first question. Well, we're working on a timetable. Time is no longer on our side. Nigerians who are clamoring for this expect that we'll come up with a finished product in no time. And the calendar we've set for ourselves is that we're going to have a vote on each of the bills, before we go on the July recess. I'm not so sure of that date yet, but before we proceed on the long recess, the votes will be taken on these now 16 thematic areas. Your next question again will have to do with whether we're still considering the air refi and the constitutional confab. Like I made clear at the very beginning, This is just part of the data bank, in addition to other materials that we have access to. But more important than this, the views and the memoranda submitted to us by members of the public, and they're going to be having the opportunity now, beginning Wednesday, to speak to this very memo. There may be memos that are outside of the 2040 confirm report. For sure, there are also memos that are outside of the El-Rufai report. And there also could be memos that will be an overlap, of all of them. But we're waiting to collate those views, condense them, have them analyzed by our consultants, and then we'll come up with the bills. And then finally, you asked how much was budgeted or something like that. In the 2021 budget, we've not received an appropriation yet. I believe it was an oversight. So we're still working with the 2020 budget, but we were hoping that during the supplementary exercise, we will be accommodated. Now, Sunday of leadership. Oh, you asked for? Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I think there were 4 questions. It was not a deliberate ploy to avoid answering that question. I just didn't know there was a 4th question. Let me tell you, constitutional review is a major plank of the legislative agenda of the 9th Senate. And I can assure you that Senator Ahmed Lawan is not against anything that we are doing here in the constitutional review exercise. He's not against restructuring. And I like to believe that you probably are alluding to an interview he granted, I believe, in the State House, after one of the events with Mr. President. For those of you who had the opportunity to look at that statement, I saw a clip of it, and the opening was that he is in support of restructuring. That was his opening line. And he didn't say anything afterwards that should lead anyone to believe that he's against restructuring. In any event, restructuring is just one aspect, of several aspects in this constitutional review exercise. And it depends on what you even mean by restructuring. It depends on who is speaking to that. There's a school of thought that believes that the exclusive legislative elite is overburdened, and that there's need for that to shed some weight, that some of those powers transferred to the concurrent legislative list, which is also devolution of powers. We've received a lot of bills addressing that issue. I think, I'm sorry, a lot of memos, from members of the public on that very issue. These are some of the issues we had taken before the public during this zonal public hearing exercise. And I can assure you that the president hasn't taken a position. He, like every one of us, is entitled to his views, and he may cast a vote. I'm not so sure what the law says right now. He may probably have a vote in the event of a tie, but at least me, I have my vote to the extent I'm not presiding on that day. So Mr. President of the Senate is in support of what we are doing, and you can take this to the bank that we will have an exercise that the Nigerian people will be proud of at the end of the day. Thank you very much. Now, all your questions are answered, I assume. Now, Sunday, Igwe leadership. 2 issues you raised. One dealing with, which areas of the Constitution has received the most criticism. I don't think it's my job to tell you that. You're a journalist. you also hear the criticism that comes on a daily basis. I'm sure you should do your homework on that. But I can assure you, whatever criticism we will address during this exercise. And then your final question is why journalists are not carried along during the zonal hearings. I really don't know how to answer this, except to say that this exercise is ongoing. The national public hearing is coming up in about a week. We are here in Abuja. I'm here in Abuja with you. I don't think I would have wanted to send you to different centers. I think those who have gone right now, they are there because it is an obligation that is bestowed on them as members of this committee. But I'm sure you will have the opportunity to do your job here during public hearing. I will carry you along. That I can assure you. And in any event, I did receive a correspondence from the body. I think addressing the same issue, and I've asked that my committee look into that. If it has not been addressed, it will be addressed moving forward. Thank you.
All right, so we'll take 4 more questions, please. Any ladies?
Please, I will take this in reverse order. Abdul Latif. First and foremost, let me, talking about the issue of recurring amendments. We borrowed our system from the United States of America. Even the US from whom we borrowed this system continue to amend their constitution. The last time I checked, I think we have like about 27 amendments. Now, what that tells you is that from the outset, they knew that they were never given a perfect document. Nobody ever has a perfect document. That is why they believe this incremental amendment, that at some point going forward, they will come to near perfection. Now, the framers of our own constitution, under Section 9 of the Constitution, also anticipated that a time will come where there will be several agitations like we have today, questioning some issues in the Constitution, and they made allowance for how we should address that. Frankly, I was actually looking to hearing a question regarding the positions taken by so many key stakeholders, including recently, I believe, the chairman, the president of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, who was canvassing the position that we should not even have the amendment process, that we should just come up with a new constitution. It doesn't work that way. At the frame of this constitution, we have our framers. At the time we put them together, we believe that we assemble the best brains to do this job. And they provided the only mode for the alteration of the constitution. Alteration, not rewrite of the constitution. Not outrightly jettisoning the constitution and then producing a new constitution. All they provided for was incremental alterations. And no, sir, this is not a jamboree. By the time we succeed with this, God willing, it will be the 5th alteration. Is that correct? Yes. It will be the 5th alteration. What that means that we've had the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th. So no, it couldn't have been a jamboree. It will be incremental. Now, what's the guarantee that the president will sign? It depends on the bills. Because the president, as the head of the executive, with his Section 5 powers, also has a right to decide what to support and what not to support. While we exercise our Section 4 rights, complying with Section 9 of the Constitution to put together the bills for him. I haven't had the concurrence of the approvals of 2/3 of the houses of assembly. He could decide, he will sign, give his assent, or he could decide not to give assent. But he's given assent in the past. I think the one that I remember very well is the not too young. That was part of the last exercise. He came from this National Assembly as well. Will you call that the jamboree? He did sign. It is my hope and expectation that most of these bills, depending on what they are, and depending on how fast they go through the process, that he will sign that. That's one. And then two, were you that raised this issue of the electoral reform? Oh, okay. Now let me come to that. Now this issue of the electoral reform is, I can tell you, as a key stakeholder, a major stakeholder in that committee, I can assure you that the electoral reform amendment bill is pretty much ready. And it is the Senate President is contemplating when we will bring it on board. It is our hope and expectation that we take the PIB first, and after the PIB, we'll bring it to the floor for consideration. We're pretty much ready. I can assure you, I don't want to make news with this, but before we go, on recess, all of those bills, the electoral reform bill and the constitutional review excise bills, we put a vote, on the floor, and we send to Mr. President for his accent. And as far as the constitutional review is concerned, what we have done here, we try learning from our experiences in the 8th Assembly. We try to bifurcate these bills, so that we don't make it by way of poison pill, either all or nothing. So there could be bills that the president will like, won't have any problem with, he will sign. There could be others he will be uncomfortable with and decide not to sign. But that will not, at the end of the day, invalidate everything. So I can assure you that we are alive to our responsibilities, and I also believe that the president is alive to his, with respect to these two major pieces of legislation. Thank you. There was some, I think how many memos did we receive? I said 250 memoranda. I'm sure I said that in my opening. And why isn't there a joint hearing? We had clamored to have that with the House, but their calendar was such that they couldn't accommodate that. But I do understand that maybe next week, I think they have a security retreat, I believe, and immediately after that, they were also going to the fields, But I can assure you that the committees, the consultants, are working jointly in reviewing the bills so far. I can assure you, at least for now, there's little or no differences so far with respect to the thematic areas we have zeroed in on, and the bills that could possibly arise from there. We're working in consonance with them. We would have loved to have a joint hearing, but our calendars have not permitted that. I think that has answered your question.
Your Excellency, sorry just to draw your attention. I wanted to know critically if fresh memoranda will be received at the venue, because the Senate President still said it when you were closing, that anyone who has any challenge should also take it there. And has the executive submitted any bill to any memoranda itself?
Yes, the Senate President made that very clear. People who have already submitted memoranda can show up and speak to them, and those who have not had the opportunity to are also free, to also make their presentations before the committees at the various centers, and they will all be considered. Yes, the executive arm have made several submissions in several areas. I don't want to be specific, but we've received a lot of submissions from the executive arm, which we are considering. And we've also received two from the judicial arm as well, which we are also considering. And during the national public hearing, we hope to have the CJN, the President of Appeal, and the heads of the other courts, to also come before us and speak to those memoranda that we've received. And everyone is free to make a presentation. We'll consider all of them within the time frame that I've articulated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We had two questions from the previous block. We'll just add two more with the indulgence of His Excellency, and then we'll have the last block of 4 questions. So 2 gentlemen from the previous set, and then Deji, please. And
okay.
then
My name.
Thank you very much, Sarity. See, this is a process. Everybody has a role to play. Restructuring, depending on your own definition of restructuring. Like I said, we've received a lot of bills in this area. We're considering all of those bills in addition to other bills, other proposals we've received. It's not just about restructuring alone. We're considering all of these bills, and after we're done with that, we take a vote along with the House of Reps, and thereafter we turn it over to the states. But having said that, I should inform you up front that we're already working in synergy with the Houses of Assembly, Houses of Assemblies of the various states, because we have, like I said, we have consultants, and we have a specific consultant hired for that purpose to liaise with the speakers of the various Houses of Assembly, because as you know, under Section 9, there's no way we can have this done without their approval. As much as possible, even at the zonal level, we've written letters of invitation to them as well to please attend the zonal hearings, and thereafter we are arranging a retreat between us and the speakers, because I think the conference of speakers is likely to be in Abuja at some point, and we're going to seize that opportunity to also liaise with them, share with them our thoughts, and have their buy-in, on some of these issues. And that's when we'll know how much of the buy-in and on what issue that we have. But understand that there's a lot there beyond the restructuring. Restructuring is just one of the areas we're looking at. There are other areas as well. Like we're looking at areas of electoral reforms, gender issues, citizenship. Like we said, as I read them out now. So it's not just, we're not just taking a vote or seeking a consensus on just these ones, but on every issue, as much as we're able to. Thank you.
The DSP, sir. My name is DJ Lumoye. I write for this day newspapers. You alluded to the fact that nothing was appropriated for the exercise in the 2021 exercise, budget. Will that not affect the work the committee is doing? Are you saying paucity of funds really affected the committee, which informed why the zonal public hearing is coming this late? Don't forget the fact that when your opening address, you specifically mentioned that the committee was set up February last year. And that's why the fact that we had the issue of COVID-19 and what have you, lead to or nothing was done by the committee known to the public. Are you saying paucity of funds is affecting the committee in performing its work? Are you also saying that lack of funds may not affect the committee in ensuring that we have the review, so to say, the kind of constitution maybe the public will looking out for by July, as you suggested? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, DG. I can tell you categorically that we have no challenge with paucity of funds. I was only answering a question, I believe, by the gentleman from Arise. Am I right? Is that right? Arise Television, if I'm right. Oh, leadership? Oh, okay. No, I think it was actually Umoru or Vanguard as to how much was appropriated for 2021. And the answer I gave was that there was no appropriation for 2021, and we're still awaiting the supplementary budget. So we are operating the 2020 budget. But we have enough, for our work. We've not been hampered in any way, and we believe we have enough resources to carry out this exercise. And whether or not we're taking a vote, in July, as I believe we will, it's not a function of how much money we have. you must understand, this is not the only committee, in the Senate, but it is the largest committee. I think the membership spans about 68 members. Coincidentally, that's my vote. That's almost close to two-thirds, of the Senate. So taking that into account, we had to accommodate the other committees and the assignments as well, so as not to pull everybody away. Like this coming week now, we've taken a position that the Senate plenary be shut down, so that everybody, because once you take every member of the committee away from plenary, for instance, you pretty much have difficulty even getting quorum anyway, and we decided that everybody should go home to their various states and their various centers to participate in this exercise. But yes, I can tell you that we have enough resources. We're not in any way hampered by finances. We're okay. And before we proceed on the July recess, you can take to the bank, that we will take the votes. The schedule is tight. Because once they return, and we conclude the public, as the national public hearing, we're going into a retreat to consider the reports, and then we'll do a clause-by-clause consideration on each of the bills and determine what to take to the floor. We've already have our work cut out for us. We have a calendar, and we're hopeful, very, very confident that before we go on that recess, we take votes on each of these thematic areas, and the senators and the House of Rep members will make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That'll be all for now. Ladies, gentlemen of the press, we want to thank you very much indeed for being here, and thank you and have a good evening. Thank you, Your Excellency. Are we all covered, I suppose? Sorry? Indication? Clarification? All right, clarify.
Thank you very much, Taye. Thank you for the commentary. I will answer a couple of the questions you asked. Yes, all of the memoranda that we received, all of the materials that we have in our possession, we've duplicated, we've turned over to each of the centers. And yes, where would you go to is your next question. You are based here in Abuja. The North Central, we have 2 zones. We have Mina and we have Jos. And FCT is supposed to be part of the Mina Center on the one hand. On the other hand, since you're also here, you can also participate at the national public hearing that comes up on the 3rd and the 4th. You'll be welcome to make any presentation you wish to make at that point. Now, let me just say something. I'm sure this must be to my friend Deji of this day. You see, the bulk of the work we do here is committee work. So that we don't invite you guys doesn't mean that the committee is not working. It's only when we're ready to come up with these memos for inputs, for people to speak to those memos at the various centers. That's when you will know. That's when we actually make you realize that we're doing this. Otherwise, it's an ongoing exercise. We're working. We have a very, very competent secretariat. We raised a very, very competent team of lawyers and others who are acting as consultants to us. The best brains, you can, do I say money can pay for, for want of a better expression. And they've been working around the clock, on this side. I can assure you at the end of the day, Nigerians will be happy. I mean, those who believe in proceedings conducted pursuant to Section 9, they will be happy with the outcome of this exercise. But for those who do not believe in incremental alteration, you will imagine that nothing we will do that will ever satisfy those ones. But we took an oath to this constitution, and we're bound by those constitutional provisions. So whatever I'm doing, or we are doing here, we are acting pursuant to Section 9 of the Constitution. So Nigerians will be happy with the final outcome. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen of the press. At this time, I'll invite the Chief of Staff to give us a vote of thanks, and then we'll all be on our way. Thank you. The Chief of Staff.
Laura, on behalf of the Deputy President of the Senate, thank you and God bless you.
CPS.